join the Marines, you'll change the world or whatever. This opportunity that I'm talking about here in Vancouver is an opportunity for you to literally change the world, because the code that you write may be running in the brains of these things in 10 years. So this is a huge opportunity. I'm going to ask that anybody here who is a software engineer who's really good to talk to any one of these three folks who are sat at the back there, who are Suzanne founded Kindred, and Olivia and Paula are some of our key folks in Vancouver, or talk to me, and we'll have a conversation. By the way, I love Joseph's talk. It's true. Startup life can be very, very difficult, and you will fail many, many, many times before you succeed, just as a matter of course. Thanks.
Thank you, Jordy. First question over here.
Hi, Jody. My name is Naren, and I do really want to talk to you after this. So, you were talking about summoning the demon by Elon Musk, right? And there are a lot of other pioneers in this industry, such as Andrew Ng, who was a former chief scientist at Baidu. When he was asked the same question about summoning the demon, he said that his analogy was, it's more like thinking about overpopulation Mars. It was completely opposite. But when there are two pioneers in this industry who have different sets of opinions, how do you think that it's summoning the demon rather than the other way around?
Well, obviously people are going to have different opinions. You have to make up your mind yourself. So my general comment is that people always miss the future. It's this old thing that people are always saying things will go faster than they do in the short term and slower in the long term. But it's kind of, for me, it's an obvious thing. I mean, this isn't about, the only question is how long it will take. Again, I encourage you to watch that Sam Harris TED Talk if you're interested in this. But the point that he makes is that as long as certain things that are probably true hold, this will happen. Will progress continue? Maybe it won't. Maybe the Earth will get hit by a meteor and we'll all die. If progress continues, things that we're doing, intelligence isn't magical. It's not some kind of weird thing. It's a mechanical outcome of the way that our machines in our head work. We're going to figure it out eventually. And when we do, we're going to make it better in all sorts of interesting ways. And then you have this weird thing that happens that because the machine is now able to act in its own self-interest, it can take the action to make its own thought process better. We can't do that. So we're stuck with what we were born with, more or less. We can learn things, but that's not the same as getting smarter. So these machines are going to be able to take control of the tools from which they are built to create better versions of themselves. And that, what's sometimes called an intelligence explosion, is something that biological creatures can't undergo. So I think it's an absolutely guaranteed outcome of progress. The only question is when, and I think Andrew would agree with that.
James?
Hey, great to have you out here. It was brilliant hearing you speak for the first time myself. I'm sure a lot of people here would agree with me. What is your goal to stop the world from turning into that of the Terminator?
Right. So there are things about the world that I can't stand, okay? And I think that's probably true for everybody here. You look at the world and there's all these things that you think, shit, what are things like that? So there's a couple of things you can do when you're faced with this. The one that I've found works for me is I'm like, screw that, I'm gonna do that myself, right? So back 25 years ago, I was like, this is bullshit. Why aren't there any quantum computers? It's not that hard a problem. And so we changed the world by actually building them. And in this case, this is bullshit. Why don't we have AI? It's been, what, 60 years since Turing? I mean, it's an absolute catastrophic failure of human resource allocation that we spend enormous amounts of money on things that are of no lasting consequence when the mechanism that generates all human flourishing is not understood. It doesn't make any sense. Every single thing that we will ever do and ever have done comes from this property. So when someday all cancer is cured, when polio was cured, when smallpox